So our exponential function that we've been looking at, there's our basic graph. So y equals a to the power of x. That is, of course, if the base is greater than 1. If the base was in between 0 and 1, then it would be a reflection of that in the y-axis. So the domain we can see is all real x. The range is y is greater than 0. Now, because it is a reflection in the y-axis, another way we could have described it is using function negative x. Because remember, function negative x reflected the curve in the y-axis. So that means that that first one, I could have said, is a to the power of negative x if the base was in between 0 and 1. Because that would then be the blue curve reflected. And then the bottom graph, I could say, well, that's the same as y equals a to the minus x if the base is greater than 1. So they're our basic exponentials. The logs, well, logs are the inverse of exponentials. So therefore, the domain and the range should swap around. So the domain of the log function then would be x is greater than 0, and the range will be all real y. And there's the log curve if the base is greater than 1. And the blue one there is the log curve if the base is in between 0 and 1. Okay, so how would I draw log 3x? I could use my log laws and split that out and say, well, that's the same as log 3 plus log x. So it's going to be our basic curve, y equals log x, but we've shifted it up log 3 units. And so we get something like that. Y equals 2 to the power of x plus 3. So the basic curve, 2 to the power of x. But this time, the shift is grouped with the x value. So we know it's a horizontal shift, and that would be 3 units to the left for this one. So I would slide across, and there's 2 to the power of x plus 3. So all those shifting ideas that we saw earlier still apply to these functions as well. What about the log of the absolute value of x? The basic curve, y equals log x. Now, absolute value of x. That had the effect of reflecting in the y-axis. And so now we'd get something like that. Because what we're saying now is we're only ever going to substitute a positive number into the log function. Because before we substitute it in, we're finding the absolute value of that x value. Just a quick little one for today. So 8f and 8g.